Yeah, it's still 10 fingers because the thumbs still count as fingers. Welcome back to another episode of Who What Now Gaming, the podcast for consumers by consumers, where we ask the questions: who are you, what got you into gaming, and what type of gamer are you now? I am your humble host, Josh Stewart, and today we have a special guest. Today we have Tom,
Oh,
great
hello.
friend of ours.
How's it going, Josh?
Hey, I'm doing pretty great. How are you doing?
I'm also great. It's good to be here. I'm excited to talk about video games.
Absolutely. It's been a while. I think the last time we saw each other was the one shot at your what do we call it? Home of employment.
Oh yeah, my the humble abode, the mansion,
The
at
mansion.
Moonstone Manor. My wife and I
Moonstone Manor.
are innkeepers there.
Hell yeah. Well, let's kick off the podcast. Tell us about yourself. Who are you? Who is Tom?
I that's an interesting question. What is Tom? Uh I'm just a guy who has growing up, I always wanted I need to make money so I can buy more video games. And now that I've grown up, I'm so busy and I'm not so busy making money, but now that I have the money for the video games, it's more about time. And so, I'm a little more choosy with games nowadays, and you need to be because of how much is out there as far as games go. I
Oh, of
mean,
course.
you could play a new game every day for years and years and never run out.
Yo, absolutely. I mean, even like I use it as much as possible, but like Xbox Game Passes and like the PlayStation, I don't know if they call it a Game Pass also, but the PlayStation
Oh yeah,
equivalent.
PS Plus,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
yeah. And there's so many games on there. I mean, I bypass a lot of them, but I mean, there's some pretty solid, games on there.
There are, and I used to actually subscribe to Game Pass, and I also like that it'll give you like the beta games, the ones that are in testing. They're not completely done. I played a
Yeah.
game called Grounded, or at least I played the beginning of it,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids idea, where you're tiny and you're trying to fight off ants, and
Yeah.
loved it. It was great. I played all of what was available at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, my brother-in-law got me into that game.
Nice.
Like beta, kind of version of it. And yeah, that was really cool. It's a cool concept to it's still like a builder survival type of thing, but it's weirdly like unique. It's in its own category.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it at the time, but it is in the category, it's a survival game.
Yeah.
You're getting resources, you're crafting materials, and you know, I guess that is a big part of games that I enjoy. When it comes down to the core of games, Skyrim is a huge game that I would play. I would also, that's an RPG, but I loved you know, you level up your smithing, and you get the materials, and all of a sudden you can like make your own crazy weapons, and then you enchant them, and just levels upon levels of that game that you can get into. And
Oh, absolutely.
any RPG game, well, most of them.
So do you like more of the survival aspect of it or of the like longevity of how long that game is going to keep your interest?
That's a good question. I think it's a bit of both. I think the survival gameplay, it speaks to my outdoorsiness, and
Yeah,
I like to, it's the 21st century. I do as much survivalist stuff as I can.
100%.
But a video game is a place to escape from your reality, and that's in the survival aspect, it's a lot of fun. It's we don't necessarily face grave danger in our everyday lives. Most
True.
dangerous thing we do is drive,
Yeah.
statistically. And so being able to stare a dragon in the face,
Yeah.
and either run because you're squishy, or just tank it, it's great. I love those games. And so maybe the longevity of the game, I do love a good story mode. Story mode is my typical gameplay. And I did have a long stint of online games. I still do play some online things. Right now, I'm playing. I play Sea of Thieves. I've been playing Sea of Thieves for a few years now, and it's one of my favorite things to play online. Just with friends. You're on a boat. It's a pirate simulator, and it's kind of like the graphics. It's not cell shading. I don't know what really to call it. It's kind of like
Yeah, I don't know. It is kind of cartoony though,
yeah.
like, but it's not
Well, and I don't want to
full
call it a little
cartoony.
kids game either,
Yeah.
but it is like I don't know. I feel like it's just a great game to play, and there is a lot of grinding, but it's about who you play with. At least for me, in that game.
Yeah, that's funny you say that. I tried Sea of Thieves, and I think the issue was that it. Everybody that I've talked to says that you can play that game single player and still have a good time. I don't know what happened in mine, but I started single player because I didn't have anybody to like play the game with.
You were solo slooping.
100%. And but I when I left the like tutorial island or whatever it is, and you talk to that like ghost skeleton dude or something like that, I left and I got on a ship. And I was like, how do you solo this game? Because it's like a double decker, and it was like telling me it was like load up the cannons, but I had to like leave the helm and I had to like go down and like load up the stuff. I found out like a year later that I was not supposed to get on that ship, and that there's like a solo ship that I could have gotten onto.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, I never even knew that that was an option. I'm over here trying to like one man this like 4-man ship over here.
Wow, I didn't. I played it so long ago that I swear you like the tutorial area. You just start like I don't know. I just jumped right into the game, and luckily I played with people who had been playing for a few months
Mm,
already, and they really embrace the grind culture, which becoming a pirate legend, which is like the high level stuff in that game. It is a bit of a grind.
yeah,
You level three things up to level 50, and then from there there's even more levels, and now there are a lot of gear. It's you can pay real money for stuff in that game, but it doesn't really help you out.
yeah.
It's more of it's for your aesthetics, and there's a lot of opportunities to earn the in-game currencies, at least gold. Like you can make a lot of gold if depending on how you play, but solo slooping, that's rough.
Yeah, I was just talking to somebody the other day about it, and because news got to me that they're bringing Sea of Thieves to PlayStation, which is primarily what I play these days.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, why not? I'll give it another shot. Like I remember putting in some solid hours into that game, just trying to figure it out, and I don't remember having the best experience, but I was soloing it. I checked the other day, 4 hours.
Four
I was
out.
like, well, clearly did not put enough time in this game.
It's yeah. Well, and there are some games that you put 4 hours into that game, and you're already like you're really getting into the nitty gritty of
Oh
things.
yeah,
You could play Sea of Thieves for 16 hours and stay in one like general area, and it just depends on what you want to do and how you want to play. And it can be a little unforgiving too, because it's not a it's PvP zone everywhere, or at least
mm-hmm.
now I think there's a way that friendly seas. It's no longer
Mm.
PvP. You don't really attack each other. It's like your own survival map, or maybe you're on the same server. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a game where you could sink 3 or 4 hours in, and you have a ship full of gold, and you stop paying attention for 5 minutes, and somebody comes up and just wrecks your whole boat, and you're done, and you lose.
Yeah,
That's a lot of frustration.
yeah. That's not it's not my bag, man. There, I'm not a huge like PvP type of player. There are certain games where like where that's solely the point of the game, with like Call of Duty and
Right.
stuff. But yeah, when I'm out there trying to adventure and stuff, and you put in these hours and time and efforts, and everything's just right, and then somebody comes through and just steals everything, and I'm like, well,
Yep.
like I'm not over here playing 12 hours a day. Like I got like 3 hours to myself right now, and I'm just trying to get some gold here,
Oh yeah. and not to mention if you play, because I play on Xbox, but you can have it so you only play on a server with other Xbox controller people.
Yeah.
But PC players, you just have quicker react. Like PC, I hear the PC master race. You can be more accurate. You can have much faster reaction times. There's no way to really compete on a really highly competitive level, but that's also not a part of the game that I'm into. I'll run a lot. And especially if I'm solo slooping, I don't fight. I just run. And luckily the sloop, you can get away from the bigger ships if you know how. Like, you just sail directly into the wind. Like, the game physics set it up to where you have a bit of an advantage. But downwind, the bigger ships, will catch you 100%.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there were bits of that game that I couldn't stand. And it's at one point I started playing, and if like you were mentioning in the first episode, sea shanties with
Yeah.
Black Flag, and so there's a lot of that. There's different instruments that you can play and different shanties to pick from, and there's something about it's a game that it makes you feel like you're in this huge world, and it is a pretty big world considering that you're sailing.
Sure.
But in reality, sailing, in IRL is 100 times farther spaced out. But
Right.
that doesn't make a game very fun, and so they make things a lot closer. And then you add megalodons and krakens, and it's a good game to play with your friends. But sometimes if you're playing alone, I had fun just trolling somebody that wanted to sink me for an hour. Just
Yeah.
ran, just running and maneuvering away because smaller boats can steer faster, and it is a pirate simulator.
Mm-hmm.
And the ship mechanics, like you said you played Black Flag.
Yeah.
The ship mechanics of that, it's much easier. And
Sure.
the fighting, they make it about ship fighting, whereas this is about ship mechanics. And you manipulate those mechanics to make the ship perform differently, like the sails, the angle, and the length, and then dropping anchor. And then versus, that's funny, I always think of dropping anchor as a poop euphemism. It's oh, I gotta go drop anchor. But yeah, you can do an anchor turn in
Yeah.
that game, and it's there's just so much to it. And again, it would be hard to get all that in 4 hours.
Yeah. It's definitely worth maybe trying again. I think I would definitely be interested in giving it another go. So I wanted to bring up something else with you'd mentioned games that are there in the beta testing area.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm probably gonna get the name wrong. But it was called Happy something, Happy Pill or Happy Time, something happy something. But I remember this game coming out in the beta maybe 2010, maybe. And I remember the concept being just um so interesting on even a psychological level. So I'll have to pull it up at some point and correct myself on the podcast here, but the concept was that you start off as this person just working in an office, and you're editing newspapers or documents or something, and every hour or two or so like that, you take your happy pill. And the happy pill basically, and it was one of those games where in the beginning, as the absolute rebel that I am, I was like, I'm not gonna take that pill. And then you end the game, and I was like, nailed it, beat the game,
End credit, roll credits.
Yeah, I was like, boom, nailed it. Or no, I did take it, and it was like, yeah, good job, you
Wow.
beat the game. So the point is that you're not supposed to take the pill, and then you start to see the world for what it really is. And the tutorial area, it hit me weird, man. So I'm 2010, I am so much younger. Okay.
Oh, what a year.
And I fine year, and
graduated high school in 2010.
Well, I
Sorry.
had 2 more years to go. um, but yeah, so you like the game takes you through the office, and you didn't take the happy pill. So as you're walking through the office, you get to like a birthday party, and they're like, "Hey, man, come on over, like join the party." And you're like, "Yeah, all right, whatever." And then you start getting like weird flashes and stuff, and like things are like decaying around you, and you're like, "What the fuck is going on?" And so then they got a pinata, and they're like, smash the pinata, we're gonna get some candy. And they smash the pinata, and candy goes everywhere. But then you blip into reality, and it's like a dead rat, and they're like eating its intestines and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell are we playing here? And I was immediately, from that moment, I was like, this is the greatest game ever. I'm
My
I'm
God.
100% in. Like, and so like the whole game is like you not conforming to like society's vision and stuff. And I was like, like an angsty
Yeah, I'll eat
teenager,
some
and I'm like,
rats.
yeah, man, I'm like down with the system, like I'm like, this is the game for me. But like that game was in beta for like years. I think it's finally a real game, and I played the final version, and I just keep dying because like I don't feed myself, I guess. Like I'm like, that's
Wow.
another game I got to get back into, like try it again. But
I'll have to check that out.
it's nuts. Yeah, it's like happy times or happy pills, or happy is in there.
I do like a game that makes you question reality a little bit, kind of like jolts you back and forth.
Well, with this whole simulation we're living in, it's all
Yeah.
relevant and irrelevant.
My wife hates that discussion.
Yeah.
And she hates that I just lean into it.
Yeah, of course you have to.
Her joke, oh, would this happen in a simulation? And I would, yes,
Like,
that
yeah,
way it's more convincing.
it just
It
happened.
just did. Like this. She gets pretty mad. There was a game I'm tour. I think it's just called Touring. A game I played on Game Pass, and you play a character who's going through these tests, and like it's you when you're playing, you're seeing yourself as a human being, and then I never thought about it, but a Turing test is like they how to test.
Just gotta move you a little bit.
Absolutely. Testing to see if something is a computer or a human. And then, by the end of the game, like things start to become, it doesn't become apparent until toward the end that what you are is actually like the ship's computer, and you're controlling this person. Sorry, spoiler alert. I think it's kind of old, and
Well, now
also
I can't play it.
but it was a game that it's a game that I loved, the questioning reality at the end, and
Yeah.
especially when like it's not that your controller starts fighting you, because your controller can't physically like push the stick back,
Right.
but when you're pushing your stick one way and the character is like fighting it and trying to walk to the right, and then you think that like something is wrong with your controller, but
Yeah.
it's actually the game telling you that like this isn't you. And it was a great, and then it's one of those games where you can kind of pick how it ends because you're the computer. And I think the good ending, which obviously I played both because
you have to. Yeah.
The good ending would be to let the human being that you were controlling, let her go, and like let her out of this like giant testing pod, or like
Yeah.
you were trying to take control of her forever, and I don't know what like got you out of her head. And like I do kind of appreciate sometimes when a game doesn't explain everything in detail.
Oh, yeah.
But there's another way to end the game by you kill her. You have an automated turret and you just unload and toast, and then and then you're all alone.
Yeah,
You're just a lonely computer program in it.
Jeez.
That reminds me a little bit of Portal.
I was literally just gonna say that almost sounds like the opposite like perspective.
Yeah. Loved Portal. Portal was a game that I played.
Portal was fantastic.
Pretty early. The orange box set. Yeah. Oh my god. Team Fortress 2. I didn't play it enough. I should have played it more, but it was very fun. That was probably one of the first online games that I played where classes really came into play.
Yeah.
You had like, it depended on what you picked, and then it wasn't until later, I played the first Overwatch and actually really liked that, and I don't know, got fairly good at it. I'm not a super competitive game, but again, there's a game that you only play PvP. Well, I guess there's some story mode, but it's honestly, the story mode that they made for the first Overwatch was pretty fun.
I'll be real honest. Overwatch was one of those games where I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to pick this up when I finish this game. And then it was like, oh, I'm going to finish it after this game and after this game and after this game. And since Overwatch came out, to this day, I have yet to even play either of them.
Wow. Honestly, you're fine. It's this is another game where it's not pay to play and it's not pay to win,
Mm-hmm.
but you can get more aesthetics if you pay money for, it's all through loot boxes and microtransactions, but this is definitely a game where if you go in solo and you're not a part of a team that communicates, it's not going to be that fun. But I used to play with 3 other people.
Yeah.
And we would make a solid team, even if there was, some randos paired with us. And that was the way to play. Going in and playing by yourself, super frustrating, at least for me.
Yeah, I have heard that Overwatch is one of those games where class coordination is actually key. It's not one of those games where like random people just get in there and they're like, this game will be fun. I'll just play whatever class that I'm used to playing. Like the coordination is key to a victory.
Absolutely. And I love being a healer. I like to be a healer sometimes in those class games. And so I only knew how to play these 2 characters well. And then at any time that I had to be anybody else, I'm like, well, I'm just a liability.
Dude, so that actually kind of brings up a question because I cannot be the only person who wonders this. A lot of games have healer classes. Video games, TTRPGs, Dungeons and Dragons comes immediately to mind.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy. First
Final
thing
Fantasy,
I think
100%. Yeah, and so when I play games, I tend to 99% of the time I always play some form of like brute weapon mastery of some sort where I'm like I'm in the front, I'm taking the hits, I'm dealing insane damage and stuff.
action mode.
And yeah, and healing is the farthest thing from anything I want to do. But there are genuinely people who truly enjoy being a healer class. What is it about being a healer that draws you to it?
So I think for me, it's the teamwork. And so like a game that I play on my own, I immediately go for, damage per second.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Skyrim, you want to do, destruction level 100, archery, like small weapons. And then in these other games that you play with people, at least for me, I'm not going to pretend to be a professional gamer. And especially when it comes to something where you got to practice a lot, I don't have time to put a ton of practice into a video game.
Sure.
And so I will practice healing because I feel like it's encouraged more. Like everybody looks out for a healer most of the time. And then I will like lead the way or not lead the way, but let others lead where like they can do more damage and like, take the point. And it's also, I don't know, it's the praise, but you get looked out for in a game, and like people do appreciate a healer. And I never appreciated healers until Final Fantasy. I never thought about it when I started playing them in the beginning, and I was very young. I played Final Fantasy 8, and you need someone in your party to be able to heal you. There's just never enough potions or never enough elixirs or items, and like it just pays to really have somebody that can just take everybody's health back to the top. And so now at least for that game and some other games, I love being any type of support character. Battlefield. I'm not a Call of Duty guy. I liked Call of Duty single player back in like Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, you'd hate it today. The last one was
I played
2 hours long.
Black Ops. Loved Black Ops 1 and 2.
Yeah, Black Ops always been a crowd favorite. Yeah, it's I think they're slowly kind of going downhill in their single player, but I think it's mainly because they're focused the franchise began with a single player mode, and I feel like just as each game comes out, we're focusing more and more on the multiplayer aspect and less on like a story, to the point where they're just like, I mean, here's something, you
Yep.
know.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when it comes to a first person shooter, like an online competitive
Hmm.
FPS, that's why I drifted toward Battlefield. Battlefield 3, loved it.
Dude, top notch.
I played that
Weirdly enough,
was
the only one that I've actually really liked.
it was great, and I because of that I bought Battlefield 4, and like the even the story for the Battlefields, it was fine.
Hmm.
It wasn't the first Black Ops.
Right, right.
That was you're just wow, my
Yeah,
god, like loved I love a good twist. I love a good campaign mode. And
yeah,
it's also a video game where you're playing a soldier in a you're shooting people, but you're a superhero.
yeah,
They don't say it outwardly, but like you're a professional bullet sponge,
yeah, yeah.
and then you just keep going. Unless you're playing on like the higher difficulties, but honestly, Call of Duty, I never messed with the like veteran mode, and it was too
Yeah,
much.
no, I never got to that point.
Well, 25 grenades down that hallway.
Yeah,
Let's come on, pass.
yeah. There's have you heard of Helldivers 2?
I have. I heard about Noah's
Dude, that's just
misfortune.
we're still dealing with that. We don't know what's going on.
I see a lot of info, or I haven't read a ton of it, but I see a lot of Helldivers pop up on Reddit, and a lot of people
Yeah,
love Helldivers too.
yeah. Helldivers 2 kind of came out of nowhere, and it's absolutely killing it. But it kind of popped in my head when you were saying, playing Battlefield, that you're basically like a bullet sponge and you're like a superhero. Helldivers, I think it got lost pretty early when everybody started playing it. I fell into it also, where they don't explicitly tell you, but the signs are there that you are playing your role in the game is the ship. You are not a person. The person you start in the tutorial with is it has died the first time you died in the game. So every time you play the game, you are a new soul. Like every time you die, you're a new soldier. You
Yeah.
are, and like the whole point of the game is that, yeah, we're just like we're Super Earth with an insane amount of expendable soldiers. So like you'll play a game, like the person you dive into a match with is 99% of the time not the same character you end the game with. And it like I kind of really liked it because it was like, yeah, though when I'm playing these other games, uh, and I die, and it kind of like respawns me, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm still that guy, and we're just gonna ignore the fact that I died, and we're not gonna have any rhyme or reason about it. Whereas Helldivers is like, no, 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 that was
This,
Frank.
yep,
He's dead.
he's dead now.
This guy over here,
This is Frank Jr.
yeah, this is Frank.
Frankie.
Yeah, this is Jerry. He's killing it.
That I think it's I forget what game it is. It's maybe a Call of Duty. It's maybe a Battlefield. Maybe it's Battlefield. When they made it, it's actually like World War One.
Was
Is
that
it
Battlefield
is
1
it
or
called
something like that?
Battlefield
Yeah, or
One?
maybe
That's
Battlefield 1 was like we're in the ballpark.
yeah. I'm
People
sure
will get it.
we have these magical machines that we could look this information up, but it's not important
Well,
enough to do that.
as Evan pointed out, we do not fact check on here. We just lob things out there and
And
then hope
hope.
we get corrected later.
Yeah. That's it gets the listeners to get involved.
Yeah, correct me. Come at me. Get in the comments.
When you die, it gives you like their dog tags or something. Like that's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
soldier
yeah.
that's like they're fucking dead now.
Yeah, dude.
And now like you're coming in as a new guy. Like,
Yep.
oh yeah, you just got out of boot 6 weeks ago
Yep.
now, and like you're fresh. You have the same uniform and gun as that last guy, but he's toast.
Yeah.
I always wondered, like, could you ever run across your own corpse from like a one kill before? I didn't actually play Battlefield 1. You were me.
Well, that was what I always thought was funny when playing like Call of Duty. You throw everybody into like the small map, and then they're like, okay, here's the general idea of what's happening. It's our forces versus your forces, and we're gonna go in and we're gonna dominate. But then, like, if you were to zoom out and just watch, you'd be like, What does everybody do? It's just a scattered clusterfuck of people just doing random shit all over the place. And you're like, oh, there's no tactics to this. So I was
No.
like, I mean, you're kind of better off just being like, go get him, Tiger. You know?
S- Battlefield introduced squads, and if you
Yeah.
start working together with a squad, you can really make a difference in like a conquest match.
Well, and you got bonus XP for working together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I, however, when I run those games, I'm usually a sniper. Or again, support some kind of like machine gunner. I also like the vehicle aspect of
Yeah.
Battlefield.
Yeah, the Battlefield was probably the
Planes.
only games that I ever actually play a snipey person. I don't know why. Those games I enjoyed being like a stealthy individual where I'm like, yeah, I'm in the game, but you don't know where I'm at.
Absolutely.
I enjoy that aspect of those games. I haven't been able to do it in many other ones, but Battlefield was always my favorite.
It had very satisfying sniping because it you know, it factored in bullet drop. But then, you know, if you get a headshot and like you get those little like extra bonus things like headshot and like the distance, you're like, yeah, it was a
you'd have
400
like
meter
competitions.
shot.
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's the
like
best.
the screen, like the picture almost wasn't like completely able to clip in like the full thing, and you were like, I saw him at this point, so I'm just gonna keep guessing,
Yep,
and then you'd
and
fire.
there.
It would be nothing in like your scope. You'd just see it fire out, and then it would.
You
And
just
then it
get
would just be
that
like
X.
ding, 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 ding,
Yep.
ding,
Oh
ding,
my
be like
gosh.
2,700 meters, and you're like,
I
nailed it.
will still watch those on YouTube.
Oh
to
yeah, they're
this day.
fantastic.
That's that's the level of gaming that I'm at right now. Sometimes I don't have time to play a game, and so I will watch others play a game, and I'm not ashamed.
Don't be.
For a while,
today.
I was. I honestly, I was just like, oh yeah, I played this game. When in reality, I watched someone play this game. But sometimes it's a good way to experience it at first. Did you ever play? You're a PlayStation guy. Infamous. Yep. Infamous Second Son specifically.
So
No.
So what initially happened? My gaming switch happened only a few years ago, where I was a diehard Xbox fan, and then all throughout like high school, all of my friends were Xbox people, so we would just play Xbox all the time.
Xbox
and
Live.
then and then you know, as time goes on, you know, people separate and you kind of lose touch with people, and they all became adults who don't game.
Oh man.
And I was like, cool.
Tragedy.
So I'm just over here with the Xbox by myself. And so then I started working at this company, and everybody there they were all PlayStation people, and I was like, done. I'm just gonna go buy a PS4 and I'm just gonna start all over, and so that's where I started going. And then like, uh, I think, you know, graphically, like PlayStation's always seems to be like, you know, smoother. It's been a more crisp picture in my opinion, and I don't know. I enjoy the PlayStation games. Like I had a PS1 and a PS2, and eventually I got like PS3 for like a real short amount of time.
Never actually owned a PS3 myself.
Yeah.
Yep. I skipped from 2 to 4.
Oh, there you go. Weren't missing much.
It was fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I got into like God of War because of it, and Ratchet and Clank, and what was it? Was Sly Raccoon?
Sly Cooper.
Yeah, Sly Cooper. There we go. Yeah, dude, it was great games, man. Like and Tony Hawk. Like, I mean, I started with Tony Hawk on the Nintendo 64, like the OG one. But
was it Tony Hawk's 2, Pro Skater 2 with the yellow cartridge on your?
Mine was blue, but way to call me out, bro.
I was thinking about games that got me more into gaming, and I loved Tony Hawk's 2.
Yeah.
And you know, I think I skipped 3 and played 4, but then when Tony Hawk's Underground came out, I think I played it on the PS2.
Wait, was that the one with Bam?
No, he was in the one after it, Underground 2.
Okay.
And or maybe Bam was in the first one. I just remember it being so good. The story of this skateboarding game. You know, you're a kid on the streets, and then you become a professional skateboarder. It's also like your first open world, quote unquote, experience, and it's the first Tony Hawk's game that you can get off your board and walk around.
Yeah, dude, it was awesome.
Blew everybody's minds.
Oh my god, dude! Because then,
It's
as
a
soon as
skateboarding game.
as soon as you could do that,
where you don't have to always skateboard.
yeah, that was like as soon as everybody figured out that you could get off your skateboard, everyone went to like rooftops and we're like, we're gonna just jump. Like
That was a big that game got me into searching for game Easter eggs because of getting out of bounds and like the secret areas. Well, and also Tony Hawk's always had some secret areas built into the game.
Yep.
But then you can take it even further and go out of bounds. Tony Hawk's American Wasteland was I don't know if you ever played it.
I don't remember.
It was not. I don't think it's a very well remembered game, but I remember loving it. It was absolutely insane. I mean, it takes Tony Hawk's Underground. It's a skateboarding game, and so you're obviously doing some like gnarly tricks that can't be done physically in real life. Maybe.
Oh, you definitely defied like gravity and boundaries and stuff. Like we all at one point needed
moon physics, moon gravity.
You're trying to get like everything to move on to like the next map and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, hit 750,000 points." You're like, "Well, I'm taking balance off of this, and I'm hitting the guardrail that just goes in circles."
Spin
and you're like, "I'm gonna go eat real quick, and then
BY, BX, XY.
I'm gonna go eat dinner. When I come back, I got 4 million points. I'm gonna call it a win."
Yep. Well, and it got even more ridiculous for American Wasteland, but then they introduced like an online like play aspect of it, and it was kind of fun. But again, I just remember like going out of bounds because then out of bounds the physics were all janky.
Yeah.
And if you like jumped into a wall just right, then you're just in the air and you can just perform the longest grab trick of all time. It's there's something fun in video games about breaking the rules.
100%. Yeah, I think we talked about this on one of the other episodes, but I find myself like any game that I get into that has like an in-game currency, I don't know why, but I always have to make as much money as possible,
immediately farm
to the point where I break the game for myself.
Just no more in-game economics.
Yeah, I'm destroying systems.
You're the chief financial officer of the world.
The economy is plummeting because I'm over here just farming stuff, man. Like it's those games that like you push the boundaries or the limits of the game that almost they almost kind of bring to light a new sense of fun for those games.
Yeah. The Fable series, specifically Fable 3, not everybody's favorite, a game that is specifically won by having enough money to really win.
Okay, you're a fan of the Fable games, like a big fan, right?
1, 2, and 3, I loved them. I mean, 1 I absolutely love to this day.
Yeah.
I think my next video game tattoo is going to be a Fable tattoo.
Hell yeah.
But I like Fable 2 as well. And Fable, there's a big jump between 1 and 3, and 2 is they haven't figured out the combat quite yet, and it's still a little clunky along with the first game, and 3 really perfects the combat, but like I don't know, even the story in 2, it's you start from nothing and you become this powerful hero, and it's the same thing with
is that 2? Okay, that might be
2.
the one I'm thinking of. Yeah.
In the third one, you kind of start out as you start out as royalty, like you're a prince, and like your brother is the king, but you have to like overthrow him. He's kind of the bad guy. There's more to it, and honestly, Fable 3 is a game that I'm getting Noah to play right now. He and we played through the first Fable game. That is like Fable is a game that I absolutely need to talk about because it was one of the first games that you you pick, you can be a good guy or a bad guy, even being like the protagonist of the game, and like you're the main character, but you can just be an absolute piece of garbage.
Yeah.
And just kill as many townsfolk as you can throw arrows at. And there's I do love to play the good guy. And most of the time when I play a game the first time, I play it being the good guy. But man, there's something fun about just being an almighty prick.
Yep. Yep, I 100% can relate. If I'm starting a game off, like first time, first playthrough, I'm always the hero. I'm always doing the good stuff. I'm always like, super empathetic and stuff. And it's, I feel like I play the game the way the game was intended to be played. Second playthrough, all bets off. I'm trying to I want to see how low I can get these meters. I mean, it's like Baldur's Gate 3, they even created a character so that to like almost to heighten the level of chaos that you could, basically progress through the game with. And it's something fun about just being an absolute maniac that is just really entertaining.
It is. Again, it's
Sounds
escapism.
like psychotic, but
No, it's not something that we would ever do in our everyday lives.
yeah.
Oh yeah, so in Fable, it's a very old game and I'm going to spoil bits of it. But
I mean, if you haven't played it by now,
right, you're probably not going to play it. Or I mean, watch a playthrough of somebody, I don't mind a long playthrough with no commentary. But sometimes, depending on the subscriber, I'll watch like I played Subnautica. You ever played Subnautica or heard about it?
I dabbled.
I had a lot of fun with that game.
Yeah.
And I like that it wasn't super story heavy, but that there also was a storyline. But before I started playing it, I watched someone play it.
Yeah.
And like, I was just like, what? This sounds like a lot of fun. And then watching them play it for a little while and then playing the game much, much more and diving deeper, literally in the game. Like, you just slowly go deeper and deeper down underwater. And so much fun. The vastness of that game.
Mm-hmm. That's also one of those games that like it doesn't really tell you what to do or how to do it.
No,
you gotta
figure it out.
You gotta really figure that out.
Yeah, well, and it gives you a lot of different options to do things. You can build a base here, or you can just like go back and forth with a vehicle and build a base up there. You don't have to build a base ever, but like there are certain things in order to progress through the game that you need to build.
Yeah,
and so that's a big resource, builder game, but also a survival game. And then I played the sequel. That was also fun. I didn't beat the sequel.
Subnautica had a sequel?
Subnautica Below Zero. I don't know if I'll call it a sequel.
Sub-Zero?
But yeah, it just Sub-Zero.
I thought that was like an add-on, or just I didn't know it was like
I think it's a whole separate game. I bought it used for $5. The disc. Oh yeah. Yep. But it was it was still pretty new, but someone had returned it, and so yeah, that is I like having the copy of the disc. And so Game Pass, I don't actually have Game Pass anymore, and so a lot of things I gave up.
You're a physical disc type of person.
I am. I actually bought Sea of Thieves though, so I still play that even without Game Pass. But yeah, I will, if I can, I will buy a physical disc.
Yeah, I've gotten to the point where 90% of the stuff, like the games that I'll play, are all digital, and mainly because I don't ever have any time or desire to like go back to a store and be like, I'm gonna return this game, But then, Destiny, that game.
Yeah, okay, I never played it.
2.
But, okay,
so Destiny 2 comes out, and I'm like, this thing's gonna be the shit. I'm gonna play everything about this game, and I buy it, okay, and then I beat it, and I'm like, this is cool. And then I find out later there's all these extra DLCs. Well, little known fact here, you can't play the original game anymore. My disc is completely obsolete and will not do anything for me.
Really?
Yeah, because all of the content from the original game is no longer valid information. The game has progressed so far that you almost like, I think the game itself is now free, like anywhere. And if you want to continue the progress in the game, you have to buy some like
pass
which something DLC or whatever,
some
but like
update.
yeah, and it's like, so like where you would play into the game, it's not the same game anymore.
Weird.
So I just have a disc, and I'm like, well,
That's
there it
pretty.
is. Yeah, so here it is.
Man.
So pretty insane 30-minute tangent there.
Oh yeah.
What was the first game that you can remember ever getting into?
The first game I can ever remember getting into on my own and not like watching somebody play a game was Pokemon Silver.
Yeah, well, Silver.
Silver. I started with Silver. It was just timing. I got a Game Boy Color and Silver, and I think the Game Boy came with Crystal, and I didn't realize for a while that Silver and Crystal are almost the same game. It's just one is more focused on legendary birds versus legendary dogs. And
there's that's Pokemon.
Yep, I played the hell out of Silver.
Yep.
I mean, loved that game. I also you talked about Pokemon, was it Red or Blue?
Yeah.
Red. And you talked about the leveling up and like not being able to control your Pokemon. Luckily I bought a guide halfway through playing the game, but then didn't use it.
You were one of them rich kids, huh?
I did. I saved my lawn mowing money.
Oh, you had a job. Whoa.
Oh, yeah. Capitalism at a young age. I learned. But I didn't use it for a while. And I beat the game and then wanted to go back and just be overpowered. I wanted this is where you catch this one, like, oh, and can you catch a shiny, and like catching different versions of them, and then you like getting everybody to level 100. But it stopped being fun at a certain point of being overpowered. And there is a bit of a game, like a bit of the attraction to games is the challenge,
of course.
And so what I will say though is that I don't play Dark Souls or Elden Ring or that.
Oof.
I'm not into that style of game. And
I mean, that makes sense. It's an acquired taste.
And it's a time commitment. I mean,
there's a part of you that really has to hate yourself to really love those games,
The amount of time.
And I love those games.
And a lot of people do. And I definitely see the appeal and also the satisfaction after beating something that was so hard to beat. Yeah. It's got to be great. The amount of time that I spent playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which is a huge game. Dude, people spend dying. I
just re-downloaded the game because I was like, it's time. I want to play it again.
I loved the first one. Did you ever play the first Red Dead?
Briefly.
Okay.
I played enough of it to get like a full understanding of it and stuff. And then I think at one point I just kind of ended up watching the like storyline to it to kind of like get everything.
Okay.
And then I went right into Red Dead 2.
Nice.
But I remember like my roommate had the first had Red Dead, and then there was, I guess it was like an expansion or like an alternate version.
Nightmare.
It was the Undead thing, and so like it was like one of those things where like before streaming was like really big. I did the in-person streaming where I would just sit on the couch with a bag of chips and watch my roommate play.
Yeah,
and was like, "Yeah, dude, you're killing it."
I think that's something that people do that they don't talk about enough.
Yeah.
Like is watching someone play a game. And Noah, a lot of playing Fable 1, Noah was watching me play Fable 1 because he also, it's a game that I've beaten 8 or 9 times.
Yeah.
At least. And I can just, rip through it, and I'll give him the controller at some points and just be like, oh yeah, right now. And Fable was a game that I also played to a point of where I could start doing, like, you get strategies and all of a sudden you're getting legendary weapons like halfway through the game and you're like, yeah, now I can just be overpowered.
So when you play games like this, are you the kind of person who sticks with a story for a while and then you go back to other stuff, or do you like you have to finish all of the side quests before moving on to the next bit?
I think I tend to mix. I can do storyline alone, but I love doing side quests. Especially the last game that I'm really thinking about is Horizon Zero Dawn. And
that
Horizon
was a fantastic game.
Forbidden West.
Yes.
That was a game where I did a lot of the side stuff as I was playing through the storyline, and I think that made the game so much more enjoyable. There's also still, you know, probably 20% of that game that I didn't beat just because it's so big.
I genuinely think, and might do, um, I genuinely think that we could spend um, a solid episode of the podcast just talking about those two games. I don't, I personally, I really honestly don't think that it gets enough credit.
I think that it got a lot of credit. I was late to the game. I was
Yeah.
late to the PS4 game. And so when I got a PS4 and I didn't play it for a while, but I had the game and I heard that it was amazing. And then when I played it and realized how amazing it was, I could go back and play it right now. There is a bit of Horizon Forbidden West, the DLC, that I haven't beaten. And I'm assuming it's kind of like an ending to that game, but
So the fun thing is, like, I haven't actually completed or like ended Forbidden West yet. Uh because I got distracted with like other games and stuff going on.
fair enough.
But it's it's one of those games where I don't want to end the game. It's so fun to just, and like each like mechanical beast that you take down, you can take down in like 6 or 7 different ways, and like
Absolutely.
each time you play the game you could play a completely different strategy and still have the same amount of fun. Like I genuinely don't think it gets enough credit. It's a fantastic game.
That's something that I don't delve into a ton of different play styles when I get a game like that.
Yeah.
Same thing with God of War. I picked like the outfits that I did the most damage. I wasn't worried
Oh
about
well,
my
yeah,
Spartan Rage and my
100%.
the most. It's like I want armor rating and
Yeah,
damage.
yeah.
Man, earlier you talked about Pokemon. You asked about the first game Pokemon, and somehow I immediately go back to Fable. But Pokemon was a game that also I'm glad that I got to see it evolve a little bit as a game series. But then now at a point I think that they had the same issue as like Call of Duty is having, is that
Mm-hmm.
they just, we're gonna keep releasing more Pokemon and I mean shit, I just bought the new Pokemon Snap for my Switch because I've finally found a game that is my wife's speed. She loves it so much. And also she makes that game fucking
Like
hilarious.
Pokemon Snap, like Nintendo 64's, like, or is it a different
It's
game
a new
now?
one.
Okay.
It's a brand new. I mean, I paid $60 for it, so it's a full price game.
So it better be a new game.
It's a full game, and
That's
there is a
that's
lot to
awesome.
do, and it's very fun to watch my wife play it because she actually enjoys taking like photography and the I don't know, she watches the drag queens and RuPaul and all this
Hell
stuff,
yeah.
and like she's taking a picture of this one Pokemon, and it starts twirling, and I just hear my wife in the other room going, "Yes, bitch!" It's great.
Hell yeah, dude.
And that's it's a game that's so easy to play, and that you can just play for 20 minutes and then just go. Like if you're busy,
Yeah, yeah. It's not
it's not Red Dead 2.
yeah, it's not a time commitment type of game.
Yeah, I did love Red Dead 2. That was a game where I put a lot of hours into it, but I played the first one and I played a lot of Undead Nightmare.
Yeah, well, Red Dead 2 immediately became a lot uh more positive in my eyes after I realized that when you're traveling somewhere and you like set your waypoint, you could like hold down the center button
Yeah,
and turn it to cinematic, and then you could just put the controller down. There is something in games that drives me fucking nuts when it's like, hey, you have to go from here to the other side of the map, and we have one set speed and no fast travel. Have fun for the next 35 minutes as you just travel. And I go, that's what I came here for.
there was a game that came out. I didn't play it. The main character is like mocapped by Norman Reedus. And I forget what it's called, and we're not going to fact check right now. People called it, walking simulator, because like it's just a game where you're just walking back and forth, and there's no fast travel, and like yeah, it looks great, but you're walking on like
Yeah.
something that's the equivalent of the moon.
Yeah. So I started playing Dragon Dogma 2, and
I've never
one
heard of this. I heard you talk
it's
about it
it's
in the first episode.
it's brand new.
Okay.
As in like the last like maybe 2 months or so, probably by the time this comes out. Um, which is tomorrow. Um, the um the issue that I'm having with Dragon's Dogma 2 right now is that I guess I picked a class that is very strong. It's the highest like damage per second class.
Nice.
And I picked it because recently I've been trying to get out of being the big brute guy who just carries a big sword and hits stuff really, really hard. But I just happened to pick this one, and then I'm barely anywhere in this game, and I leveled up to like max where I could go, and now it's like, hey, you still have like 80% of this game to play, and now you have to pick another class, and I'm like, what? I don't wanna. I really like this class, but it's
Hmm.
like, yeah, you're not gonna get anything from it, and I'm like, well,
Can I
that's
just be really good the
yeah,
whole
I'm like, well,
time?
that's dumb. Like, can I just level this up? And they're like, no, the point is to like be really good in all the classes. And I'm like, I want to be good in this one. I really enjoyed this class. Like I spent all this time building it to the way I want it. And then you can't fast travel, but you do get these like fast travel stones.
Okay.
But I'm not trying to waste them all. But I have this thing where I play a lot of these side quests. So it's like, hey, you remember that thing you saw like 60 miles back?
You
That's
got to
where you
go
got to
check it
go.
out.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
like, ah, sweet. Like, yay me, you know. But yeah, dude.
Games have come a long way. That's
From what? From like Pong?
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I'd say so.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. They have quite a bit. An earlier game that I played that I don't think it's something that I just recently watched. Like I recently got into speed runs, not speed running, but I love watching
Watching speed,
people.
dude.
Yeah, speed run.
Watching speed run is it's
Insane.
something else.
Like Hitman speed runs are crazy to watch. Hitman, pretty fun game. The
Great
newest
game.
ones, yeah, honestly, a good game series. Although I never played a ton of the older ones. I know that there were a bunch of them. I think I played one, but man, the speed running that you can do in Donkey Kong 64, just like a 100%
Dude.
speed run, and like, oh my god, that was a game that as a kid I never beat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was such a big game that I never figured it all out. I
Mm,
remember getting like all the characters and finding all these new worlds, and it was the same thing with I beat Banjo Kazooie,
yeah.
but I ended up never beating Banjo Tooie. And then there's a new game that came out. I mean, it's not new; it's several years old at this point, and it's by the same people as Banjo Kazooie. I can't think
Talking
of what
about
it's.
like Crash Bandicoot? No, that was Naughty Dog.
Uh,
Um,
Man, you play like this green lizard guy, and you're hopping around. It's a platformer. Man, I got nothing. Drawing a blank, but it.
Green Lizard guy. Did you get stuck on the ad for Geico?
I was told I would save 15% or more.
You have to beat the level first.
I platforming, that was a fun. It was a fun kind of game to play as a kid. It also got frustrating quick.
Oh, I believe it.
That was a put it down. I'm going outside.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to play some baseball.
dude, I've had too many of those games where like you're just like grinding, and you're getting you think you got it, and you're like, this one's, I'm gonna beat it this time. I got this. Like Crash Bandicoot was a big one. Like, you'd be just sailing, smooth sailing, no problem, and then it was like you'd hit a box, then you'd hit a
You
bug, and then
lose
you'd
your
hit
mask,
something, yeah,
and
and then
then
the
you
mask goes
and then you're
away, and
done.
then yeah, and I'm just like, hey man, like, can we chill out for a sec? You gotta like pause it and be like, okay, let's get
It's
the head in the
fine.
game here. Like, let's get in this. Those are good,
Yep, the games where your palms start sweating, wiping your hands on your sweatpants.
dude.
Those were the days.
I do have to ask you this because I've been looking forward to talking about this, and I said we were gonna go to about an hour, but I think this one will be a little long.
Oh, hell,
Um,
what's our time right now?
an hour.
Okay.
Uh, um, Legend of Zelda is something that we constantly sidetrack everywhere we go just talking about.
Absolutely.
Where did you start? Like, I started with Ocarina of Time. Where did you start in the Legend of Zelda, like, franchise, we'll call it?
I started with Majora's Mask. I didn't play Ocarina of Time yet, and I hadn't played any of the older ones, like the Nintendo version. I had seen people play, or, I had friends that had Ocarina of Time and just ranted and raved. And then I got an N64, I think I got it for Christmas one year. And then I got Majora's Mask with it. And Majora's Mask was the first Zelda game that I loved playing through it, and it was pretty dark. I mean, there's some darkness to all the Zelda games, but I don't know, there was something about uh it's a game that you expect to play Link, but in the beginning
Yeah.
of Majora's Mask you play it's Link, but you're oh man,
The Deku Seed.
yeah, and you
Or Deku.
He's a
Deku.
Deku
Yeah,
guy.
dodecahedron. Yeah, I
Yep,
got you.
around by Casa
Yeah.
Dodecahedron. You play that whole beginning of the game as you're not even Link, and you just have Link's hat, and you're like, "What the hell?" I'm trying to turn
He's
back
like,
into.
you're morphed Link. Yeah, but you're not like the Link.
And it's a good way to introduce the mask stuff.
Yeah, the whole concept. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Did really enjoy that, but yeah, that was a game. That was one of the first games that I played through and beat on my own, and like figured everything out for a while. That game I would beat the water temple for people, because I like the water temple was notoriously rough.
What is it about Legend of Zelda and making the water temple the most difficult thing on the planet?
I don't know. It was good. It was beautiful game building.
Yeah, it was great. The only thing I remember absolutely hating about it, which was the core mechanic of the game, was I would get so far into where like progression, and then your 3 days are up, buddy, and I'm like, hey man, I'm kind of working here, and then it would start you over, and any progress you made, any side hustle like stuff you had going on,
Done. Toast.
figure it out.
Yep.
Do it again.
Start over.
Yeah. So now you're like almost like like you're speed running at this point, because you're like, okay, now I know what to do. I'm gonna fucking
you are. It also reminds me of like a Groundhog's Day situation. You're just it's not repeating the same thing over. You're repeating the same time over and over, but it's because of the there's a giant moon coming to crash into Earth. It's gonna kill everybody, and you have this magical ocarina that can turn back time or like speed up time.
Right.
And so then like that, the first time that you're playing through and you can't become Link yet, you get to where you get the ocarina and you turn everything back, and then you are Link and you have that mask power.
Yeah.
And then you find out that there's so much more game. And back then, being younger, I thought that like the whole game I was going to be the Deku Seed.
Yeah.
And there was just so much more to it, and I loved that. And then eventually it was a game that I loved so much, I bought the guide. I got all the masks and the Fierce Deity's mask, and it made boss fights just, you just trounce your enemy.
It made the game just on a whole new level.
Toward the end of that game, like when I was playing it, at one point I would call it Dodongo hunting. They were like, they gave you a silver rupee if you killed them. And so like I'm just going and killing all the Dodongos each day, and then be like, okay, I'm inserting this, and I'm just like, I'm having 999 in my bank account because that's the only thing that saves.
Dude,
somehow money,
and money never like in those games, unless you had a wallet size. So like you still collected the rubies, they just didn't count.
Yeah.
So you're like, where am I putting these things, and why can't I use them? They're like, you got to buy a bigger wallet. And I'm like, hey man, but I got the rubies.
Yeah, no, they disappear.
Yeah.
Like, but where'd they go then? Nope, they just disappeared.
I do remember being really into and fascinated by when each mask transformation had its own like ocarina, so like Kid Link had the ocarina,
Yes.
and then like the Zoro had like the
His
guitar.
fish guitar.
Yeah, and then what did
The Deku Seed, he had like
he had like a bagpipe looking thing,
it
right?
wasn't quite a tuba.
Yeah.
It was what a tuba would look like. It was like a bunch of trombones all
If they
welded
were
together.
massed together and
Yeah.
made of wood, yeah.
Yeah.
And the oh
The
shoot, what are they called?
Goron.
Yeah, the Gorons
He had
had.
a drum.
I feel I'm just assuming yeah, he definitely had it. It was a four boom boom boom, yeah,
tenor drums, as
yeah,
we would have called them.
yeah, dude, that was. So did you go right into Ocarina of Time?
I it took me so long before I actually played Ocarina of Time, but it was when let's see, I played Majora's Mask. I didn't play Wind Waker, which I think was the next one that came out after that. I'm gonna skip over a bunch of the like Game Boy versions.
You're gonna have to come back because we have a timeline to just absolutely
wreck through right now. So
because
yeah, I understand in Ocarina of Time, Kid Link is he 11?
I don't know.
It's and then or maybe it's 10, and then you're 17 as adult Link, or you move forward in time 7 years.
Oh yeah. I just I never really thought of it as an age. It was just like they were like, "You're adult Link," and I
You're
was
grown
like,
up now. Yeah,
makes sense to me.
I nowadays having like an age assigned to it when it's saying adult Link being 17, like he's still a child.
Yeah, see, and that's what I was just thinking of. I was like, "Oh, what is he like 30?"
He's 33. That's the year that Hobbits become a man.
Which is why he's like, every time he rolls, it's his back, man. He's throwing his back out every time.
Yep. Well, and so Majora's Mask, you play as Kid Link the whole time,
right?
But you, it's not the same. Like Kid Link from Ocarina of Time, it felt like he felt puny compared to adult Link. Whereas,
yeah, I think that was game mechanic stuff, but I think according to timeline, they're directly like linked. Not pun intended.
well, are you talking about Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask?
Ocarina of Time, at the end, one of the timelines is that you take Zelda's advice and you go back to the Temple of Time and revert yourself back to a child. You go and get Epona, and then you leave Hyrule. And on your adventure, you find the spooky woods, you find the Skull Kid, or as we learned in episode 2, Skid for all the OGs.
Skid.
And then yeah, that's when you find like the town and like your whole new set of adventures and stuff.
I liked that Skull Kid, Skid. He wasn't really the villain.
This a thing.
It was Skid. Is that the kid's name for Sid? I'm thinking of Sid from Toy Story.
Toy Story.
Skid.
Close enough.
It's. Oh, I lost my train of thought. No, the Majora's Mask Skid isn't really the villain. It's the mask itself, and it takes over him.
Yeah.
And then toward the end, when you're fighting the mask itself, and it turns into this like. I mean, a nightmare creature. It was some legitimate nightmare fuel as a child. I did love it though. It reminded me of like the weird body morphism from Akira. Have you ever watched that movie? It's a movie based on a manga.
It sounds familiar.
Very good.
I think if I looked it up, I would know. I think I would recognize it.
It's 3 hours. It's worth it. I've watched it subbed and dubbed. Very good. But like there's a lot of this weird like body horror, like more you turning into like all the Majora's Mask with a bunch of the tentacles. Immediately think of Akira nowadays.
Yeah. No, dude, those games always had something like I would get lost in those games so much in the experience of playing it, where I would start to kind of really like dive deeper into like the details and stuff, things that you just miss if you knew exactly what you were doing. You would just miss these things. And and the amount of thought and detail that they put into when you go to the Temple of Time in Ocarina of Time, and you warp yourself into adult Link. Um, there are like there's like the if you go back to one of the towns, there is like a big spider that comes down in the doorway. It won't let you pass. When it turns around, it's a spider, but it's got the face on it. And like if you gave it like I think they were like the spiders that you would like shoot all around the map.
Yeah,
If you gave it,
Skulltulas, is that what they
yeah,
were called?
and he would slowly morph back into like a person, and you were like, oh dude, you were just a guy here. And like the more it was like the weirdest morphing too, because like you give him like a couple of the spider like tokens or whatever, and like maybe he had 6 legs, but now he's got like 4 legs, but he's got an arm and like a human leg and stuff, and the more of his face is showing.
I
You're like,
remember what
the
you're
fuck is
talking
going
about.
on?
He was in that house
Yeah,
in the town, the same town that had the Song of Storms guy.
yeah.
Oh man,
It was nuts.
I don't think I collected all of them. I think I only did it to where I could get like max hearts.
Yeah.
I ended up playing the first time I actually beat Ocarina of Time all the way through was on the DS version of the game.
See, I've only ever played on the Nintendo 64. So I've heard that they like remastered it and it was great, but like all of my memory is of that weird blocky Nintendo 64 like version
Yeah.
where like Ganondorf was just like a triangle face like.
Oh man, I immediately think of the Great Fairy, and it's in the
Oh my
triangle boobies.
dude, Great Fairies were awesome. And even in Breath of the Wild, they're fantastic.
I was so happy. So Breath of the Wild, I have a strange story with Breath of the Wild. I tried to play it 2 different times. It might not be that strange of a story. I'm sure this happened to other people.
This could be fucking wild.
Yeah, it's gonna blow your mind. I played it and then I didn't, and then I did. That's well. So I started it out, and first couple of times I'm just getting wrecked.
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is trash. I hate this. Link, he's a badass, but it's a game that you have to get into and you follow in different ways. And I am glad that I stuck it out and I finished it all. I mean, I didn't finish it all. I tried to play it on master mode and just starting over and having everything just be that much harder. That's not fun for me.
Yeah.
I loved it in the way that it was, there was so much adventure, and the story was great. As far as Zelda stories go, sometimes they're a little convoluted. It's always, you're like Link, and you mentioned this in the first episode, Link is like an idea almost. Like I think of, it's hero from the past.
Yeah, he's yeah, I think I mean I stick by what I said, but I mean, yeah, he's like supposedly like the reincarnation of that like spirit or something.
Yeah. Or from the Triforce of Courage.
Yes.
And it's the same thing with Zelda and the Triforce of Wisdom, and then Ganondorf, the Triforce of Power.
Sorry.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, like within the last like year, and I think I wanted to bring it up in that episode, and I just had forgotten, or we ran out of time or something. But like, I went back and like listened to like the full timeline story, and there's I think it's Skyward Sword when they like talk about it or something, but like the whole reason that Link comes back in every game and the whole reason that Zelda and Ganondorf like come back in each of the games is because fucking Ganon cursed everybody. And he was just basically like, well, if you're gonna beat me now, I'm gonna curse you to like
force you to beat me forever.
Yeah, we're going to continue this cycle until I get what I want, kind of thing. And they kind of like briefly touch with that with Tears of the Kingdom, and it's
interesting.
It's like
I have
very brief. I think it wasn't like a part of the story, but I think it was like an ode to like
games past
as to why the fuck we're still doing this,
right?
You know?
I also, that is why some people support the theory that Link is Doom Guy.
Is Doom Guy?
Doom Guy. Have you ever heard this?
I've heard the name Doom Guy. What are you talking about?
The guy, the person you play from Doom, the character that you are in Doom.
In the Doom franchise?
Yep. Link is Doom Guy. in timeline. Imagine that Zelda. I'm so glad that I get to watch this happen.
I was legitimately gonna be like, we're gonna have to do a part 2, but now no, I have what?
Link is Doom. So I don't know if I support it,
Putting
but
feet up for this one.
Link is Doom guy. And like, there's a lot of research done on this, but so Link keeps coming back and he's fighting Ganondorf,
Right?
And it's he has to keep doing it over and over again because the evil comes back and he's the one that's there to defeat it, destroy it. The way that Doom is set up, if the first one is canon,
Yeah.
and then into the one Doom Eternal, I think was the last one that came out. Your player, the Doom guy, Link, you keep being brought back to fight these demons from Mars.
Yeah.
It's just imagine if it's not Wind Waker, people aren't sailing around anymore, and it's not Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom where everybody's making vehicles. Now you're on Mars and you have shotguns, and your Link is Doom guy, and I do love it. It's a little chaotic. I've also seen the arguments why Link is not Doom guy, but
yeah,
I want you to. I would love for you to just.
I'm not even gonna comment. I'm gonna go down the rabbit hole. I'm gonna see where it takes me.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then,
watch like 18 YouTube videos and read a whole term paper on this.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love going down rabbit holes with like theories of games, stories, TV shows, movies. Like I'm very easily like susceptible to that rabbit hole stuff.
Oh,
it's weirdly enough, completely off topic. I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, but I love going down the conspiracy theory rabbit holes.
Absolutely.
They're so fun.
They
it's
are
just absolutely so fun.
I like that that's a conspiracy theory that is in our universe, that Link is Doom guy. That's where we are now. The second gunman on the grassy knoll, who cares about him?
Yeah, dude. Because it's Doom guy.
Yep, Link is Doom guy.
Hey, so
oh, you know what? We got through the who and the what and the now.
Yeah, dude, what are you doing now?
So, I wanted to talk about some games that I played recently.
The only guest that took notes. I feel honored. Thank you.
I wish that I had taken more. I wish that I'd shown up with some notes so I didn't just keep like running over myself. But
I don't.
A game that I played recently that I bought when it was new and it just kind of I just had it for a while and I never touched it was the game called Prey 2016.
Prey. That's the space one, right? With the weird blob, venom looking thing.
I can't even think what they're called right now, and I just played.
Oh, I have no idea.
It's a great game.
It was super fun.
It was very fun, and it's another game where you start to think like, what's real? Like you think that the problem is so small, and it's actually just so much bigger, and you keep like peeling back layers, and you're on this space station, and it's a very cool concept. The game takes place in a universe. There's a lot of
well, so for the listeners, for those who may not have even heard of the game, what was the premise of the game?
So how do I?
Because you start off in an actual simulation.
You do, and you're playing through a simulation. You play through your day once, and you see the Typhon. That's what the aliens are called. Yes. You see something happen. There's these things called mimics that they're like the least of your worries, honestly. You think that it's the scariest thing, and they turn out to be the grunts.
Well, it's the most threatening thing in the beginning of the game.
It is, because a guy that's supposed to be testing you on your abilities, he has coffee cups on his desk, and then one of these mimics transforms into a coffee cup, and he has it, and my coffee, and then it just attacks him and like goes down his throat, and then you get gassed. And then you wake up and it's like the beginning of the day again.
It is the biggest mind fuck. Yeah, it's super cool though.
But then you break out of that initial simulation, and then there's so much more game after that, and it just keeps progressing. The idea is that there are these things called neuromods that you upgrade yourself. That's the RPG aspect, and it's a needle that like jams into your eyeball. It was I would be willing to say that it was an underrated game. I can see some of the arguments against it.
I would 100% agree. I did not appreciate it until I played it like I tried to play it again. I played
Okay.
it the first time and was like, I like the concept, not a game for me. I approached it later, loved it.
I played it through and I didn't use any of the Typhon based neuromods because it was like I was playing through as what I was thinking as the good guy.
Right.
And I did really enjoy Prey. I wanted to bring that up just because there was another game called Prey. I can't remember when that came out, pre 2010, I think. And
I think I know what you're talking about.
that game, it again involved aliens, and a friend of mine played that fantastic game. I think the only thing I can really remember is that the ending is just super sad, and so the ending for Prey was a little. I could see being upset about it, or like I don't want to spoil too much, but it was a good game that how you play kind of affects what happens in the end, but not quite on a level of like how you were talking about Shadow of War. Like,
Love that game.
that's a lot more, in depth, and it was a game that had a lot of combat possibilities. It's a game that you could go online and watch people that play the game Prey on a high level and just like watch them wreck a room full of enemies in the coolest way possible. That's it's the same way that I watch people play Far Cry 3. But Prey was very good. Breath of the Wild was the last Zelda game I beat. God, really, that's all I've been playing. I think the next game that I'm going to be playing is you know what? I've never beaten The Witcher 3, and I have it downloaded on my
That's good.
Xbox.
It's fantastic.
Cool.
I really enjoyed that one.
I'm gonna and I hear that you can just sink a ton of time into it. So
Yes.
I'll other than Pokemon Snap that I get to play with my lovely wife, I'll dive into The Witcher 3. I've been listening to The Witcher audiobooks again. So
yeah, dude. Do you also have a problem with the Dandelion, the dandelion,
Dandelion?
yeah, Dandelion drives me nuts.
They need to pick one.
Yeah, I'm just like settle with one. I don't even care what you do.
Oh,
just
Dandelion.
Yeah,
you're like
just pick one.
Book 2, Dandelion.
Yeah. Oh my god,
he is a weed.
Thank you. I went off on this podcast earlier, and I was just like, just pick one, man. Like it's.
I do love how the narrator says Geralt.
Yeah, Geralt.
Anytime it's like Geralt of Rivia, yes.
Geralt.
Man, thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, dude. I have like 60 other topic points. We need to schedule another episode. Well, I'm not even gonna say this episode is done. We stay tuned for part 2. I'm getting you back.
BC.
We have so much more to go through. But of course, life continues, and we have things we have to get to and do.
Yes.
So first and foremost, let me say thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
This was super, super fun. I always get lost in gaming conversations with you. So please, let's schedule something. Let's hook something up again. Let's do this again.
For sure. This was so much fun.
So I would like to, at least give you the opportunity, as I like to give anybody who comes on the podcast, shameless shout outs,
self-plug.
Self plugs, like load it up, and anything you would like us to plug, I'm going to put in the description of this episode, so if anybody is interested, will be able to find your links and stuff there.
Thanks, man. Honestly, I don't really do much on social media myself, but I am an innkeeper at Moonstone Manor. We're an event space, / bed and breakfast in Elizabethtown. My wife and I are the innkeepers there. Gina, the owner, she has a catering company that operates out of there. Anything where you can take photos there. It's a beautiful space, and we're trying to drum up some more business for the bed and breakfast. We do a lot of weddings and events during the summer, and so weekends are usually booked. But if you if you're interested, take a look at our website. We just got some new pictures taken, and so those will be uploaded soon. And
Hell
it's a
yeah.
really beautiful place. I love being there.
It's so stunning.
Playing
Um,
D&D
I
in
was
a giant dining room that can seat 16.
Oh my god, I was just gonna bring it up. If even if you like book something for like a bed and breakfast or what have you, and you got some players, a game going on, like it is such a special place to be able to hold a D&D game. It truly is stunning. Every time I get the opportunity to go, I'm baffled. It's beautiful.
I
It's
love
a
it.
wonderful area.
Thank you.
Um, is there anything else that you want to shout out?
Uh, no, not that I can think of it other than this and Noah's, content. Both of
Yep,
you guys are
we're
great.
gonna shout out Noah, who's been on the first and third episode, and we're gonna actually have him back again here. We're gonna dive real deep into Mass Effect, so stay tuned to that one. You can find Noah on YouTube at Nerdy Noah Reads, and I will post a link down in the description. If you are a gamer or a TTRPG player and you've got a bit of a spicy side and you're looking for some really good fantasy, spicy romance novels, go check out on TikTok before they ban that bad boy. Danny Reads Dirty Books. Pretty straightforward there. I'll throw a link down in the description as well. You can find my lovely self on Instagram at Phoenix Stewart, YouTube, where you'll find this podcast, but the video version, you'll be able to see a bunch of that stuff on YouTube at Who What Now Gaming. And for those asking about the Discord, I am falling very behind on the Discord. It is almost up and operational. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of the next episode. So Tom, until next time, uh, have a wonderful time, and I'll see you all next.